Hello, this is Pink Robot. I appreciated that you all did not freak out during the test videos. I had been watching you all silently as another account, and whenever I see people claiming that the commentary community is full of autistic spurgs who don't know how to deal with trolls, I was wanting to test that for myself. Thank you Goose, Master TP10 and Doodle Tones for demonstrating, however, that you can still have fun while commentating on someone who was trying to get your reactions. However, now I wish to get serious and make videos pointing out actual problems I'm seeing hang around the community. I won't get to them all at once, that would fry my circuits. I'm not even getting to them in this video. What I am doing with this video is testing the waters to see if I even get taken seriously despite using text-to-speech, and to see if I even can do a video where every point is not supposed to be bad. Today's subject is on a man not in the commentary community, Kung-E Muller. Ellie Muller is a man on YouTube attempting to be a talk show host, primarily trying to replicate the shows of Craig Ferguson, David Letterman, and Craig Kilburn, and strives to become the fifth host of Late Night on NBC. However, what I plan to demonstrate today is how he needs to change a lot of his formula if he wishes to actually get anywhere, using 12 different videos of him talking about the commentary community, and why when he demonstrates he does not fully understand how late-night television talk shows work. I will not cover everything in every video, just the important aspects of the various ones. Now, let us begin.
From the YouTube dojo, this is Week Now Update with Ellie Muller, and now a man who has his best friend on speed dial. If Doodle Tones ever decides to make a video about him, Ellie Kung-E Muller. Ha! Welcome to Week Now Update. I am Ellie Kung-E Muller. Let's go.
I have to question if English is his first language, because enunciation doesn't seem to be this guy's strong suit. For those wondering if I am going to point out how off his camera is, I shall not, as we'll see in later videos he has fixed this very issue. Instead I will skip to when he begins talking about his subject.
Tonight, we are going to talk about Doodle Tones. Alright? Doodle Tones believes that he has the 6th worst YouTube channel ever. I wouldn't say that. The 25th worst? Yes. She talks too quickly, some of her videos are way too long, and her jokes are way too corny to be funny.
And spoiler alert, this is his only issue with Doodle's content. Not the fact that she doesn't practice what she preaches with making videos out of spite or anger. Not the fact that she claims to learn from her mistakes when she constantly keeps making them. Not even the fact that often in her videos she'll argue contradictory statements, both for and against what she herself puts in her videos. No, just that she talks at a slightly faster pace than other commentators, makes videos that are obviously too long for Ellie's attention span, even though on average, even at the time, she made videos around the 20-minute mark, and that she's not funny, which I agree with, but I fail to see how that's important when talking about someone who obviously doesn't strive for humor. This is especially confusing when you take into consideration who it is you look up to and who it is you are attempting to be like. Hosts of talk shows tend to also make corny jokes and references all the time. It's how they connect with their audience. They also tend to be on shows that last at a range from 40 minutes all the way to an hour. If 20 minutes is too much for you to merely watch, I'm not entirely sure how you look up to people who tend to host double that length daily.
I mean, seriously, she also caused an empty feud to happen between her and a YouTuber who hates TV reboots.
As much as I don't often care for Doodle's content, even I can tell you that whenever she causes feuds, with the exception of Just a Robot and Dylan Thomas, two people who she kept poking at when she really should have kept her big mouth shut. The feuds regarding television reboots aren't normally feuds outside of Perry Puss Productions, and even that situation wasn't entirely her fault, considering it was Perry Puss who overreacted and told Doodle to die in a fire, so I fail to see how that's something to pin on her.
I mean, don't just take my word for it though. Ask Supersonic War 15. He'll tell you.
This is another thing that Ellie does a lot in his videos, drag another commentator, Supersonic Ward 15, into his reasoning to justify it, when all it really does is get Ward blamed for all of Ellie's retardation. Assuming Ward does approve of what Ellie says in these videos, which I am doubtful of, then Ward would at that point be blamed. Problem is, we cannot know if Ward does stand beside Ellie in these videos, as he's never appeared on these videos, nor does he appear in the credits of Ellie's videos. Not as a CO executive producer or just CO producer, so this comes off really as you throwing a friend under the bus. Oh yeah, and that best friend on speed dial he mentioned at the beginning of this video? Yeah, that's supposed to be Ward he's referring to.
You need to fix your voice dual tones. You sound annoying, and you have over 5,000 subscribers. So, yes, I did have an old channel on YouTube back in 2009. And yes, I had to start over again last May because my old channel was hacked. But at least my show is short, funny, and cool.
The only thing that's objectively provable within those statements is the short lengths, which again, as far as talk shows go, is far from average length that they typically run for. The other two statements are subjective at best, and biased and egotistical at worst to try to make Doodle seem bad just on trivial matters.
And anyway, let me tell you something else, alright? Dual Tones has over 5,000 subscribers. Alright? So why would she make a video about a guy who hasn't even received 1,000 subscribers on YouTube?
Do you expect her to believe you are free from criticism because you haven't hit the 4 digits?
We're going to talk to MP about this. This is ridiculous. Alright, listen up. Dual Tones is a goofball. Alright? She talks so fast that I can't even hear a word she says.
So this is one of Ellie's talk show characters he uses to try and entertain his audience. I'm unsure if he uses it as a shield or not. However, whatever the purpose may be, it seems rather redundant, as for the majority of the segment with the penguin is him repeating his previously mentioned complaint of how fast Doodle speaks in her videos, again, ignoring the actually valid criticisms one could have against her. But, if I were to go on other complaints I have with this segment, the fact that Ellie is now under his desk, it causes his already hard to understand voice to become even harder to understand, as not only is he mumbling, but he's further away from the microphone, and thus the microphone won't pick up the voice as well as if he were in his usual spot. Ellie, if you do want some general criticisms for future segments with the penguin plush, as this problem persists, I would advise you attempt to do voice-over work for these segments. That way, your penguin alter ego can be understood better. It doesn't take that much to do voice-over work, as you can do it in virtually any program in existence. Just mute the audio that you originally recorded and re-record the audio over that. Either that or balance the audio better, though I'm unsure what program you use, as not every program allows for audio balancing. Point is, you really do need to up your production values.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the 10 out of 10 scale.
And it's the friends who don't do anything. You have no friends. Right, so what are we not talking?
We are talking about dual tones, my man.
Dual bones.
Dual tones.
Yeah, bones.
Apparently, the YouTuber who calls herself the 6th worst YouTuber ever.
You know, I would say something, but I won't. I would say something, but I won't. I wouldn't.
Now we get to the point where Ellie gets his brother in the video, and his role in this segment is to nod and agree to everything Ellie says while giving a 10 out of 10 score based on Ellie's already established opinion of the person at hand. I know this given what happens later in this video alone, and given how he reacts in some of the later episodes. Ellie can't make a point on his own, so he requires to have his kid brother give him confirmation bias.
Okay.
Wait, but why does she call her that?
Why did she call her that?
Yeah.
I don't know, self-deprecating?
Yeah.
I wouldn't call her the 6th worst YouTuber. However, I would say that she's in the top 25.
Top 25.
Top 25 worst YouTubers of all time. I mean, think about it, Adam. Alright, have you watched Dual Tone stuff? I mean, she talks as though she's making a 6-second video.
To me, the voice is like a freaking 6-year-old, but only the 6-year-old have the brain of like a 30-year-old somehow.
I'm not even sure I know what's going on anymore. So what I'm going to do is move on to video 2.
Who is Ryan Rhino Mills? I'll tell you. He is a YouTube commentator. Wow. Why is his nickname Rhino? I mean, seriously. His profile picture isn't a rhino. Come on. He thinks that he knows how to do commentaries. Really? His videos are longer than Fozzie Bear's act. You know, he might have made a couple of good points. He made a video about Suicide Squad 15 a while back, but he messed up when he made that video. Why? Suicide Squad 15 was my true friend back in high school. So you shouldn't make fun of random illnesses, and the video received 7 dislikes.
So what we have here is a man who only does videos on people when they do a video on his friend Ward, and instead of making actual points, focuses on the little things that don't at all matter to anything. From how I see it, this is the blackest white knight I have ever seen.
And not to mention the fact that, again, he has about 2,400 subs and a crappy profile picture. Now, let me ask you one question, right? Why does he have 2,400 subs on YouTube? Don't answer that. I got my top 8 list right here. Number 8, his most popular video has about 13,000 views. Suicide Squad 15 received more views on one of his videos than he did.
I fail to see how many views Ryan has on his most viewed video really equate to anything at all. Ryan had made a video on Ward simply because he felt Ward's video with Sean Sampson wasn't that good. I fail to see how you fail to understand that. Now, while I already know the answer to this, I'm going to ask anyway, are you going to actually attempt to argue anything Ryan said in his video on Supersonic Ward, or are you just going to try to discredit Ryan merely because he covered your friend Ward? Thus far, you haven't proven to me that you're a person who understands what goes on in the commentary community.
Number 7, his profile picture doesn't look like somebody who should have 1 million subs.
You are trying to argue in favor of Supersonic Ward having more subscribers than Ryan, right? But one of your points of arguments is how his profile picture looks. While this honestly shouldn't matter to anything ever, I don't have Ryan's profile picture from June on hand, though I'm fairly certain it was his orange shirt fully original character, whereas Sonic Ward's has yet to change and he's still using a bright red on dark blue My Little Pony original character that's hard to see, much less get any brand recognition off of. Again, not that this should matter, but you need to make a better case as to why Ryan's profile picture doesn't look like someone who should have 1 million subscribers than the awful amount of vague terms you're just throwing about if you choose to use this as a valid point.
It looks like the child of somebody who was born 5 weeks before Woodstock occurred. Number 6, the only person who might actually love his content is Dual Tones. Looks like she might be his girlfriend someday?
Another irrelevant statement used to try to argue why Ryan shouldn't have the amount of subscribers he has, but this time you drag Doodle into it for seemingly no reason other than to drag both of them down. However, the logic here is very strange. Over 2,000 subscribers, 6,000 views on the video he did on Supersonic Ward, 169 likes, 7 dislikes, but only Doodle Tones likes his content. Didn't know that's how statistics worked, Ellie. That sure is fascinating. Hey, can you do me a solid and stay away from gossip and baseless assumptions? I thought you wanted to be on late night, not start a talk show for the National Enquirer.
Number 5, he makes fun of 3 things: people of different races, certain illnesses, and a best/only true friend from high school. I mean, if he could make fun of John Chappelle, then would it even matter?
This makes the second time you mentioned Jean-Luc Chaparro in the videos I've covered, with the first one being how you don't think Doodle would waste her time on you but instead waste her time on him. I don't know what history you have with this man, but please don't expect everyone to understand it. Now, as for your point itself, I'm not here to argue semantics, but jokes at race and the mentally disabled are far from even close to the caliber of the jokes Ryan is known for. Ryan is far more often seen making jokes about his genitalia and random humor in general. After all, we are referring to the kid who did a video alongside an inanimate object.
Number 4, most of his videos get a lot of dislikes, and after watching some of his videos myself, I don't blame them.
As of this video, his video on Ward has 7 dislikes to 169 likes. His video on himself had 18 dislikes to 161 likes. His video on Youngtown has 2 dislikes to 158 likes. These are the 3 most recent videos he released leading up to this one video. Where are your statistics showing he gets a lot of dislikes? I'd be more inclined to believe you're not a great content creator given your last commentary community related videos statistics.
Number 3, even though he's making commentary videos, he's still pretty mean and harsh.
And we can't have that now, can we?
I mean, if I didn't know any better, then I'd say he's the 7th hour of YouTube. Number 2, on his last commentary video, he used a character from My Little Pony, Homer Simpson, his own profile picture / avatar, and an anime character that Supersonic 415 would use on his videos as his avatars.
Once again, I have lost track of what it is you're actually trying to argue here. As stated before, it seemed like you were trying to argue that Ward should have a bigger audience than Ryan. However, if that's what you've been trying to argue, bringing up how Ryan had used a My Little Pony character in a random anime avatar is a mistake, as Ward does that too, as he has used both Hinata from Naruto and Fluttershy. As for Homer Simpson, I am less inclined to believe you even watched his video, as his target, Super Mario Plush Games, was using Homer Simpson as a Trio-P character in his commentary. Not Ryan.
Nice work, you hypocritical bonehead!
Unless Ryan explicitly got onto any of his targets for using an avatar from My Little Pony or an anime, this would not be hypocrisy. You're now just tossing buzzwords to discredit him without any proof or reasoning to back up your claims. Guys, don't you remember when David Letterman stood there and made baseless claims about people who talked about his friends as a way to make them seem bad? Yeah, wasn't that a great episode?
And number 1, his animation is so crappy that the only person who would say that it's bad is yours truly, so I'll say it. Ryan, your animation is so crappy that not even Cartoon Network will hire you to make a new TV show. Here you go. Now.
Even as a pot shot, this makes no sense. From here, it's generally the same problems as last time, so we're moving on to video 3.
Digital Ty needs some help. He's making rude comments. How rude can they be? Well, at times, he can be pretty racist. I'm not happy. I mean, seriously. He may be in the CC, but come on. You need to watch out for him. He might have some good points, but his jokes suck. I mean, come on. He might even make you cry.
Okay, so your main issue with Digital Ty is that he can be rude in his jokes. That's interesting coming from someone who will freely make fun of those he deems too skinny. For my audience, he has several videos with titles like this. Why would we take your stance on what kind of humor is okay when mean-spirited humor and gossip are your primary source of humor? That would be what's called hypocritical.
Sheesh. And, as a matter of fact, I have the top 8 reasons why Digital Ty needs a lot of them.
Well, these top 8s make my job easier.
Okay, number 8. He is a racist guy, and his only friend is Bill Maher.
To claim Digital Ty as a racist, you're really going to need some evidence backing that statement up. As we've seen thus far, you're willing to just make things up off the fly because it helps suit your narrative and makes those you don't like seem much worse than they actually are. From what you have given us in this video alone, he tends to make darker jokes, but that wouldn't mean he's inherently racist. Examples or evidence That's all you would need here if you are trying to expose Tai as a racist.
Number 7. His jokes aren't as good as his points. Really?
Subjective at best, that wouldn't really help the case of why Tai needs this help you claim he does. Even if this was factual and provable, the points tend to be the most important aspects of a commentary. If the points are good, then why would it matter that the jokes don't tend to hit home all the time? Once again, you show you have no idea what it is people even do in the community.
Number 6. He takes a lot of time off. He's lazy.
Oh gee, could it be Tai has a life and thus doesn't always have time to do YouTube videos? Not everyone is Doodle Tones. Not everyone can spend their time shitting out videos every week or so just because they have nothing better to do.
Number 5. He's doing so many things on his channel. Stop, man. Get some help.
So now people can't have variety on their channels? This point, kinda like the last, seems absolutely arbitrary with no point in mind. I would say I'm surprised, but given what we have seen the past 20 minutes or so, I physically cannot be, and I'm not even halfway through this little project.
Number 4. His profile picture is a guy who pretty much has no life.
I don't know, I think you may be looking at your own, because Digital Tai's profile picture looks to be a guy dressed as royalty, which you could argue is egotistical, wouldn't inherently show a person with no life. Even given your thumbnail, I don't see it. I just see a guy standing there with his eyebrows in a manner that shows confusion. Finally, it wouldn't make any sense to say that Tai has no life when by your own logic, he takes long periods off of making videos, showing that realistically, he doesn't have the time to put anything together. Sure, that's not the only possibility, but it's the highest possibility if Ellie wishes to imply that Tai should be rushing out a high quantity of videos.
Number 3. He tried to do a couple of live streams not too long ago, but they weren't up.
This is really easily explained, given that live streams are not the main source of content Tai is known for. People didn't subscribe for his live streams, they subscribed for his countdowns and commentaries, as evidenced by the fact those are his most viewed videos on the channel.
Number 2. He only has about 2,000 subscribers.
You only have a little over 900, what's your point? That shouldn't be a reason why Tai, by your words, needs a lot of help.
He needs to get more people to promote his channel before he ends up being a small YouTuber forever. And number 1, he's already thinking about doing a video about my show.
How would you have known this, given I have not been able to find information of him saying that he was thinking of doing this, like a lot of things you have said thus far, feel baseless at best. On top of that, what is this fear you seem to have with people doing videos responding to your show? It seems to me you may have a fear of criticism, and coming from a person like yourself whose whole premise of their show is to tear down celebrities and now commentators, that's very hypocritical of you.
We are going to talk about Dale Lockman. Yes. Now, who is Dale Lockman? He is a loser.
You are incredibly inconsistent, Ellie. You constantly shove this idea that mean-spirited humor is bad given the Ryan and Tai videos, and then the minute we get to Dale Lockman, you straight up call him a loser for the sake of a joke. So are you against pot shots in commentaries, or are you fine with them? You're really going to need to straighten this out, especially since this particular video was posted a day after the Digital Tai one.
One of his main avatars is Fluttershy. Really? Suicide 14 is going to be upset. I mean, seriously, wouldn't he make a video about Dale? Hopefully he will.
Hopefully Ward will make a video on Dale just for the basis of they both use Fluttershy? That would seem like an incredibly petty reason to make a video, especially since Dale had used Fluttershy before Sonic Ward was even in the commentary community. While I'm thinking about it, yes, the background noise is really distracting, but again, this problem gets mostly ironed out in the later episodes we're covering.
But only if Dale's points are pretty dumb.
Then what was the point of bringing up how they both use Fluttershy?
Alright? Come on. The CC is like that. I mean, come on. Now, it's time once again for tonight's top 8 list. Tonight's category, Top 8 reasons why Dale Rockman really needs some help. Number 8. He made a short video about Scooby-Doo.
And? What about Scooby-Doo? Good? Bad? Like, for what reason would Dale Rockman require help for merely making a short video about Scooby-Doo? I'm going to start skipping over sections of Ellie's videos from here on out, as I think you guys get the idea that he'll focus on the most minuscule of things to talk about just to make a point that these people need some help. On that note, what kind of help, Ellie? Typically when people use the phrase in the context they're referring to severe mental wards and insane asylums. Which makes every time you bring up their subscriber count even worse, as you're saying they're insane because of something that is completely arbitrary and out of their control. Something that cannot be remedied all that easily, and you're pinning them as insane.
Number 3. Most of his videos are really short. Holy cow. He needs to slow down.
With Doodle, one of your main issues was their videos were too long. With Dale's, they're too short. This Goldilocks mentality is great. On top of that, you assume Dale's videos are short because he's too fast and not maybe because he doesn't have a lot to say. Given most of his videos are labeled as quickies, or one-shots with his characters Swag King and Autobot Fan being characters that too have not much to say, it's not really because he's too fast, but that he puts in little effort and has not much to say to his targets.
Number 2. His one-shot commentaries are usually a minute long. Yeah. Pretty normal. Not.
Actually, it is very normal for one-shots to be done in such a short time frame. After all, the nature of one-shots are to go into a video at a random point that you have a problem with and explain the singular issue with the video that you have. Which would only take someone a minute or two, maybe less, to go over.
And number 1, I'm talking about him on this show. Why else would he need some help?
So anyone you talk about needs some help, yet you refuse to actually give any and instead focus on very minuscule things that don't actually have anything to do with their content. What's the point in saying these people need the help if you're not going to even try to give those people advice?
Top 8 reasons why the Masked Star Maker is a crazy YouTuber, okay? Number 8. He's doing all these long streams now. Come on now, get some help.
Live streams are typically long as they're used as a way to relax for a decent period of time. They maybe are not always long, but more often than not they're anywhere from an hour to 4 hours, and Star Maker seems to hit more the center points for that, as, on average, his streams hit from 2 to 3 hours. That's normal for live streaming.
Number 7. He went from being a commentator to being a gamer/streamer. What's up with him?
He no longer wished to be a part of the commentary community anymore. He had grown tired of commentaries and wanted to quit. At least that's the easy answer. I can't speak for Star Maker on that behalf. Ellie continues to get on Star Maker's case for wanting to distance himself from commentaries, uses the fact that he's talking about him as a reason, and goes back to complaining about the length of Star Maker's live streams. So moving on.
Alright, I know that a lot of you love this show, and I appreciate your love, but one person who hates it more than anybody else is Prince Neil. Yep. He did something called Lunch Break not too long ago, and he made fun of this show and yours truly. Does he really want to help me? No.
Having watched his lunch break video, he was merely parodying what you do in your videos, trying to make a point that your videos are only there to belittle people and not actually there to do what you say you're there for. And honestly, I don't blame him, considering how often thus far we see you head on people's cases for just whatever.
And here's why. Okay? He should know by now that I cut unnecessary stuff from the show. And yet, he says that I don't edit. Hey, I don't have a proper editing software.
Well then, here's a really good one for free. It's called Shotcut.
Top 8 reasons why Prince Neil was trying to mess me up. Here we go, number 8. His main avatar is Duncan from Total Drama Island.
Well, if avatar choices mess you up.
7. He took 2 videos from Supersonic Warrior 15 and Jonah Smith and pretended that they were his guests. I know certain tricks, but that trick didn't fool me.
I don't believe it was trying to fool you, given the nature of the rest of the video was just there to poke at you to see how you would react, and given this video I think Prince Neo got the reaction he was expecting.
5. He says that I'm a mean guy, but to be honest, when you're trying to get on late night TV, you're supposed to make fun of certain things except for politics. I'm a nice guy, and I will only make fun of you or block you if you mess with me. Alright?
See every video leading up to this point to learn how that last statement is a load of bull. Especially Dale Rockman, who I don't even think heard of you prior to your video on him, or Doodle Tones, who I am certain never heard of you prior to your video on her. But let's take those out of the equation. Yes, a little bit of humor is fine as far as talk shows go. The problem, however, is the fact that you don't just take shots at people for humor. Every list leading up to this point has been reasons that these people need to, by your words, get help. You have thus far played every complaint you have to people straight as actual complaints towards them that they should fix, but you never actually explain why they should fix it, nor do you give any actual advice towards them as content creators. You speak, not with the intent to help, but with the intent to bully or harm. Normally I'm not against pot shots or name calling, but you had been leading up to this point, yet you refuse to practice what you preach.
He says that I don't take criticism. Of course, he forgot about the fact that I always take suggestions for my show in terms of topics.
Suggestions for topics is not the same as taking criticisms, I will admit, given that people criticized you on your awful camera layout that you later fixed. It proves you take some basic criticisms, but you don't seem to take other criticisms very well. Or at least the idea of criticism to you seems to be rather scary, if what we saw with Doodle and Digital Tie are any indication.
And number 1, he says that I don't deserve any of my subscribers. Really? Does he not understand that I've been on YouTube now for over 8 years? And that I have worked really hard? What would make him say such a thing like that? Huh?
Probably because you like to throw around baseless assumptions about your subject matters and seem to have an ego of yourself that causes you to put yourself on a pedestal over others. Also, just because you have been on YouTube for a long period of time, does not, under any circumstance, mean that you have been working hard and have earned your subscribers. Look at someone like Joshua Culvehouse, someone in the commentary community notorious for not trying, who has been around since 2009. You can claim that he was trying to improve his stuff, but the fact that it took him so long before he added subtitles to his videos so that people could understand him show otherwise. The fact that it took you so long to finally center yourself in front of your camera kinda tells me that you're not trying as hard as you are claiming.
Tonight, we are talking about a YouTube commentator by the name of Jonah Smith. Now, Jonah Smith is an okay commentator. He's trying to help others out, but he's forgetting about one other person. Himself. I mean, seriously, he did a video with the group not too long ago, and he's scared on Twitter because Doodle Tones is going to do a video about it.
Well, given that Doodle Tones has a bad fanbase that likes to jump on any person she has a problem with, I really don't blame Jonah in the slightest, especially if she was actually talking about hitting the video.
Number 7, he's a commentator. He's supposed to be hard on other people, not on himself.
As much as you hated Prince Neo's video, it seemed to knock some sense into you at the very least, as you're trying to pick someone up instead of throwing assumptions to tear them down. That said, here you're still incorrect. The job of a commentator is to give criticism others can use to improve their content, not to be hard on people as you claim. In fact, you can deliver criticism in a well-mannered, respectable way. Being hard on people is an option, not a requirement.
So, my question to you folks, in terms of all this, is, do you think that YouTubers should be hard on themselves just because they have made a few mistakes?
I think if you are more prone to mistakes, you should be critical of yourself. Yes, the only way you're ever going to get better is to look at the mistakes you have done so that you can push on to not repeat them. Maybe don't dwell on them forever and ever, but keep them in mind as you are improving past them so you don't recycle bad habits. Hey, I know this is a commentary, and typically opinion pieces are frowned upon, but I thought this was a good time to put in my 2 cents.
When a few commentators got slapped, hypothetically of course, by dual tones and Ryan Mills a while back, they were so scared. How scared were they? Good question, Edward Scott. They were so scared that bats started subscribing to them. Yeah. Is that a side joke? Perhaps, but it's also true. They need to grow up. Because they can't learn if they're scared.
That is not entirely true. You can be afraid of a video that's coming out given you have no idea how a commentator is going to react to the video at hand, but can still learn from the video once it comes out and you watch it. The focus isn't whether or not a commentator is afraid, it's how willing are they to hear out the problems of the others, and realistically this can go out to every video creator, not just simply commentators. That said, what's funny about this video is in principle, I actually agree fully with it. Commentators are a little too fearful of criticism for a community built on giving out criticism. So that's pretty much the only point I had against video 8. So moving right along.
Top 8 things that Deku needs to work on. Number 8. Telling others whether or not Deku is actually a male or a female.
She's a girl, however. I fail to see how this affects her content at all, considering gender is absolutely arbitrary in pretty much every case when it comes to the commentary community. The title of this video is Deku needs to start making better commentary videos, and you're doing a top 8 things they need to work on. Give us actual problems they have as a content creator. You started this video by telling us everyone in the community had been talking about her, so why don't you just condense the issues people had with her at the time into the list? I'm sure it'll easily fill 8 slots.
Number 7. Making better videos. 6. Joke telling. 5. Fact checking. 4. Video editing. 3. Script writing. 2. Video filming. And number 1. Making friends.
Or I guess stick to your vague statements. That works too. I'm not exactly asking you to elaborate, given I know that these David Letterman lists were rather quick on their own, but you could specifically pinpoint certain kinds of things Deku is incapable of doing, especially since 7 is, make better videos. As if that's going to help Deku in any way.
Sketch TV. Really? Yes, really. He's about to make a video about this show. Yeah, good luck.
So much for positivity towards those who cover you.
Now, he hates feminist frequency. You know, a YouTube channel who talks mainly about females and video games. I mean, why? She's even more popular than he is. I mean, come on. Listen to this, okay? Feminist frequency has over 200,000 subs. Sketch TV has over 100. Come on. It does not compute. Does not compute.
Sir, that is robophobic of you to say. I am a computer and this computes just fine with me. Joking aside, I do fail to see how the idea of someone smaller than another can have a severe distaste towards those who are bigger than them. Just at the beginning of this project you were tailing trash about 3 people who are all bigger than you are. Also, let us not forget the entire premise of your show is based on celebrity gossip and tearing them down. You basically saying you can't understand how Sketch TV can dislike Anita Sarkeesian merely because she's more popular than him is extremely dumb, not only because those who are more popular do not magically deserve to be universally loved by all those under them, but because that tells me you cannot comprehend your own show.
I mean, seriously, Sketch, I know you have an awesome editing software, right? Well, if that's the case, then what do you use for a mic? Seriously, you sound picky, dog.
One can have a good editing software but no or low quality microphone. He could have poured his budget into the former.
Anyway, it's time for another top 8 list. Tonight, category. Top 8 reasons why Sketch TV isn't up. Okay, number 8. He talked about feminine frequency right off the bat.
I see no issue with this, as Sketch TV could simply have an interest in politics and Anita could have been ripe for the picking. I mean, your first commentary community related video was Doodle Tones, who did her first commentary on Rebel Media talking about Gamergate, and followed that up with a religious-based video.
Number 7, he's planning on doing a commentary about my show. Number 3, he did a couple of videos about this show. Hey, that takes guts.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Number 6, he has never made a video with Supersonic War 15.
There's a lot of commentators who haven't been in a video with Ward. Ward's objectively not that great as is, so he's certainly not the arbiter of who should be classified as good or not.
Number 5, Dual Tones doesn't even know me.
Considering she's the editor for Ponder Sprocket, who did a video on Just a Robot who addressed Sketch TB and had once called him Sketchman in a video on Megadupe, I think you may be a bit misinformed there.
Number 3, his best friend in the world is Deku, and Deku is a bandwagon.
So he can't be friends with someone you even said should make friends, else that makes him bad? What kind of lose-lose backwards thinking logic is that? Out of the 40 minutes I've been at this, never have I heard something so full of crap. Just because someone is a bad content creator does not make them a bad person, Ellie. If that was the case, Ward would be a bad person because he was a bit of a bandwagon, and despite his several faults I don't believe that's the case. Regardless, the logic you bring up here would also apply to you, as Ward was a bandwagon just earlier this year.
Is Silver a bad YouTube commentator?
Short answer, no.
Number 6, he once did a video about Comment Jack.
So did Boonslayer and Doodle Tones, who seems to be held in high regard just this year. Doodle did so twice. I fail to see how that would keep the dark commentator at a mere 20 subscribers. Now that we are done with that crap, you may have noticed that I only looked at Ellie's segments and not his characters or his brother's segments, and that's simply because everything about those segments would have been just repeating myself more so than I already have been. Ellie is very much a broken record when it comes to the commentary community, as most of his videos are him beating around the same points over and over again. Most of his complaints seem very arbitrary and don't even really try to make a point, with common complaints being subscriber count, their profile pictures, and how much they're funny to Ellie, without any justifiable reasons why these people are bad. It just comes off as him pinning whatever flavor of the month down as bad because Ellie said so. Ellie, a lot of your videos on the community straight up said that these people needed help, and instead of actually attempting to help anyone at all, you'd rather just state these trivial matters as bad. That's not mentioning how little you actually attempt at humor when addressing these people, and how much you seem to have your head in the clouds as someone who, not only cannot stay consistent with their beliefs, but seem to be adamantly against criticisms of your show unless it's someone you like. I'm going to say this now, it's probably for the best you don't talk about the commentary community until you understand that what we're looking for isn't a drama alert built on the community. What the commentary community is looking for are issues that can be proven as issues and explained how those issues are bad. We're also not looking for a person who just half-asses a top 8 list that he expects to speak for himself. I don't know if the rest of your show is like this, nor do I really care at the end of the day. But if you want to be on late night, you have a long way to go, as that show isn't looking for gossip and lies you can expect in the tabloids. It looks for people with charisma, a good sense of humor, and guests to, you know, actually talk to, hence the genre. Talk show. I don't wish the worst of you, that would be unfair for me to say, but this 5-subscriber channel is going to lay it straight for you. Find better talking points, please. This has been Pink Robot, and I'm powering down. Until next time.